Hi everyone, I'm the Plant Propagator and welcome to my channel. If you like my videos and you want to keep seeing them, it would help me out if you could click on like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you have not already done so. Today I'm in my old university greenhouse facilities, and this greenhouse, this room is a little bit different from the rooms that I've been in the past. This is one of the newer greenhouse rooms, and I got kicked out of my other room and put in a nicer room. I don't know why, but I'm in this room all by myself with all of my orchids. Any minute now, the fans are going to start going on. It's not really a warm day, but the sun is shining, and so this has a really nice computer control of everything. So as you can see back here, it's an Argus system. So the Argus is the computer control system of the whole greenhouse space here. I'll show you things a little bit more close later, but there are shade cloths that are again computer controlled both on the side. I'm in the final room to the outside, so there's shade cloth on the side, there's shade cloth above, and it really is a nice facility. There's a lot of things. As I'm standing here, I can hear things moving and getting turned on and off, and it's because of the computer control system in this room. There's also water cooling pads that are on the wall. I'll show you a little bit of that closer up. But it really is a state-of-the-art facility here. It's really nice. It's more than I could ever get on my own. But this is a state university in the Midwest. So and these are new greenhouse facilities. So they're pretty much state-of-the-art. It's a really nice area. And the reason I'm telling you this is because my orchids that are in here, they're mostly doing really well. There was a little bit of a problem a few months ago when I was in Southwest Florida, and I got warnings that the power was off, and we actually lost power to this whole campus and this facility for a week. And what happened was that a lot of my orchids got scorched. It was hot outside, there was a bad storm that came through, and there's still a little bit of damage, and as I show you these plants closer up, you'll be able to see that. The fan just came on, so if that's what, if I'm getting drowned out a little bit, that's what that is. It's pretty loud in here now. And anyway, so there was a power outage a few months ago, and my orchids are mostly recovering, and it did a lot of damage to them, and you can see leaf burn on many of the plants, but overall they're really doing quite well. One of the things that I wanted to show you and what I'm really excited about, and I'll show you a little closer, is this Cattleya right here. And so this is interesting, and I was so happy. I got back here just a few days ago, and I came in this chamber, and they were telling me, oh, your orchids got damaged, and they don't look as great as they used to. They even look better. But I was expecting really to see some terrible things in here, and there is some burning, and there are some issues with many of these plants. The Dendrobiums got burned pretty badly. The encyclias that are right here. I think I've got about 300 to 400 encyclias here, and some of them look pretty big. And again, I'll look at these a little bit closer in a little bit. But I wanted to show you this guy because this is blooming, and this is the first plant from a cross that I made. It's a self, but it's from a self that I made from seed that I grew in the laboratory here. Starting to get fragrant. So I came back, and the first bloom was open, and the second bloom opened since I've been back here for a couple of days. But I was really amazed, and the reason that I was amazed is because, and I got to check the exact dates on this, but this has bloomed within 3 years of flasking, of actually putting these things in the flask. So the pollination that was made, and this is from Lorianne, the cultivar is Paradise. So this was probably a clone plant. I don't know. It's the first orchid on my orchid list. I don't even remember where I got it. I probably got it at a big box store. But I made a self of this plant on 4/27/19. I harvested the capsule on 10/10/19. And it's blooming in, August of 2022. So this has bloomed within 3 years of flasking and a little over 3 years from the initial pollination, which I think is really fast. So part of it is the conditions that I grew these seedlings under. I have my own media. I have a really nice laboratory here. I had a really nice laboratory here. I have access to it for a little bit longer, but that's not going to last long. I understand there's been an offer made to my replacement here, so we'll see if I can still get into the laboratory. And I'll show you the laboratory in a later video, not in this video. But this is, the conditions here. What it indicates is that the conditions here really are good. Even though I didn't do much orchid work when I was on the faculty here, I worked mostly with soybeans and wheat and sunflower and many other plants, but not with orchids. But the conditions in these greenhouses are just awesome. It doesn't get really hot unless there's a power outage. It doesn't get really cold here. There's shade cloth. It's a very controlled environment. There's also supplemental lighting that I'll show you. So it's really a nice facility. In my laboratory, the same thing. Very uniform temperature control, nice illumination. So these plants were grown when they were in flasks. They were grown under really good conditions. And then in the greenhouse, obviously, they were grown in optimal conditions as well. I have some other plants of the same self. So this is another one, and there's a new, there's a new shoot coming out. Actually, 2 new shoots coming out on this, and this may bloom soon after. These are, I gotta show these because these are, you could either Laelia or Cattleya pumila. Oh, and I'm looking at the roots on this is a community pot. So there's a lot of plants in here, and they're just doing really, really well too. These guys have some place that they're going. Probably what I'm going to be doing is shipping all of these back to Florida because, again, my time here is a little limited. My access to this facility it may be a little limited. I have to check into this. I had no idea that things would be growing that well here. So what I want to do, again, I'm just so amazed that these plants are doing well. What I want to do now is get behind the camera and show you a little bit more about this room and this specific chamber. I also want to show you the plants a little closer because you really can gauge how well they're doing if you get a closer look at them. So let me get behind the camera and I can show you these things from a little bit of a different angle. Okay, I wanted to start out and show you, this isn't my room, but this shows all the rooms that are down the hallway from my room. So these are some of the other, I think they're pretty large. These other chambers are actually quite a bit larger than my room. And then this is one wing, and then you can see, if you look out the windows, you can see another wing with with many more greenhouses associated with that. So you can get an idea of the size of this facility. Right now it doesn't look like it's used that heavily, but certain times of the year it really is used pretty extensively. Okay, so when you take a look at, we'll move around slowly, and this is my room, and again, very underutilized for now, with all of my orchids on this bench that we'll take a closer look at. But this is the cooling fan that is drawing the air through the cooling pads that are on the opposite wall. We'll take a look at those in a second. This shows you, this is the shade cloth that is on the side wall, and if you look up at the top, there's also, it is a sunny day, so there's shade cloth up there as well. The supplemental lighting that you can't see that well is right here. So there is, supplemental lighting in this room, right there, and this is pretty good supplemental lighting all along. There's additional cooling fans all over the place to help with airflow, and again, more supplemental lighting below the shade cloth. And on the cool winter days, the shade cloth will automatically be pulled back to let the sun enter the room. The cooling pads are right here on this wall, and they're functional today because it is pretty warm in this room. The sun is shining pretty good, even though it's not that warm outside. The cooling pads are definitely working. So the other thing to show you as we look back through this room is this is a fertilization system right here on this wall. So it's a dosatron. So the fertilizer, the liquid fertilizer, would normally be in this container. It's pulled up through this and then distributed. My orchids are right now on they're just on a mist system, and I told them I didn't want any fertilizer. They have time-release fertilizer that I've applied. It's actually time to put some more on, but they do have time-release fertilizer, and I just didn't want to mess with the fertilizer application. These are just some of the flats that I have. So these are all encyclias, and they're getting kind of big. And I think the plan for this is to bring these down to Southwest Florida and start mounting them. You can get an idea. I mean, look at this. That's a nice looking plant, and a lot of them, look like that. They're pretty loaded. So this is pretty solid, and all of these plants look pretty good. So as you move down here, again, sorry, more encyclias. Now we're getting down to the Dendrobium. So these are, and I'm gonna have to look at a tag on this, but the tag on this, if you can see it, says Den 2. So this is my second Dendrobium cross that I made. And these got, as you can see from the leaves here, they got burned and from the heat that was in this room. I understand it got up like over 115 degrees. And you can see the same thing on the encyclias. So that's what that, there is some damage on here. So when we looked at these, I went by them pretty quickly. But there is, in some cases, lots of damage from the heat. And they look better than this before we lost power for a couple of weeks here, and especially the dens. Dens look like they could use some fertilizer too. They don't look very good at all. This group is, I don't know if you can tell the tag here, but it's Den 3, so this is my third Dendrobium. And then again, more dens. I'm going to go over on this other side and take a look at this a little more closely. So this is the group that is, if you can read the tag, Den 1. So these are my first group of Dendrobium crosses, and they don't look that good here. I've actually got some of these plants at my house in Southwest Florida that look way better than this. And I think this is either heat or fertilizer, just because it's been so long since I put fertilizer on them. More Dendrobiums here. I'm sorry, more encyclias. These are encyclias. Come on. More encyclias here. And then over here we have, this is again the Lorian Paradise that I showed you. So some of these plants are getting pretty big, and this is the flower that I think it's a nice flower. So this is the first flower right here. The parent of this is it looks pretty similar to this. The second flower doesn't even look like it's fully open yet. But the first flower is. But the parent of this plant was a large, not a large, it was a small splash petal Cattleya. So it's a smaller plant, and maybe that kind of helps to get it to flower within 3 years within 3 years of flasking. The colors are pretty similar. This one looks to be a little bit more purple, and the splash on the side petals is a little bit different from the parent plant. So you can see this is the parent plant, Lorian Paradise here, and this is the plant that is the progeny of that. Now, I don't know what the other progeny are going to look like, but hopefully I'll get some blooms from some of these other plants pretty soon. As you move on through here, these are the Cattleya pumilus, or the Laelia pumilus, and I just wanted to show you this. You know, the interesting thing is it looks like the plants of these 3 community pots here, and these are just salad containers that I happen to have in the laboratory. The plants on the right were growing the best, and I think the misting system gives these plants on the right here a little bit more water. But what you can see if you hold this up and take a look at it, you can see the nice root system, and it may be a little bit of a challenge getting these things apart, but that's okay. We'll just deal with that when it comes up. So these are also, like I said, doing well. As we move through here, just a little bit more, just a few more encyclias, and that takes us to the end here. There is one more plant that looks terrible. Actually doesn't look bad if you take a look at the base of this, and so it's got a couple of new growths coming out of it, which is nice. This is one of my oldest plants, and I gave it to one of the administrative assistants here, and she all but killed it. And then I brought it out in the greenhouse, and I think it was probably growing back before we had our power outage and the heat got to it. But it's still putting out a couple of new pseudobulbs, so I think we're okay. All right. Anyway, that's all I have for today. I hope you liked the update of the plants that are growing in the greenhouse here at these really nice research facilities of my old university, and I hope that you enjoyed my new first flower right here from the first cross that I made. I'm happy to be able to share that with you. So, hope you enjoyed my video, and happy propagating.